Are you guys hungry? Are you guys hungry?
I'm always hungry.
I could go for some nachos, some chili.
But we don't have that.
Oh, and I can't be bothered cooking, and there's so many dishes.
And the store is closed.
I mean, we could fire up the food replicator and see what it can do.
Oh, but I don't even know what a food replicator is or how it works or what they do, Dickie.
Let's find out.
Let's find out. Hello and welcome, everybody. I will be your dungeon master for this evening. Ooh. With me, as ever, is the I was going to say lowly. What am I getting that from? Well. The lowly Daniel.
Well, I guess so.
AKA Dr. Z, the psychic
I'll be lowly.
jellyfish.
Sure, I'll be lowly. Fine, I'll take it.
And also the highly regarded.
I see
Thank you. Thank you. Look, one of us had to be up there, and it
Taylor, AKA Cleo DeCap, the explosives expert bear.
blew myself all the way up here.
How's it up there? It's cold.
It's
down
great.
here.
It's great. There's canapes.
Oh.
Got him out of the food replicator. And all the way off the charts, not adhering to any spectrum, is
DM Dick Dynamite.
in the flesh.
Thank you.
In your flesh. Nope.
Middling around the middle.
Taking it back.
Yeah.
So, guys, food replicators.
Food replicators.
Let's dive into the lore surrounding them.
I'm ready for this.
I want to know because I'm hungry.
So, food replicators, what are they? What
Hungry for
is
knowledge.
they? Where they come from?
What is that?
Let's talk about that. They were first hinted at, I believe, in our universe when you met Reese and Reese synthesized some mushroom-based food to consume.
Yes.
Yeah, because
And also some mushroom-based tobacco for
Indeed.
for Harry to smoke.
It was all very mushroom based because Reese had been in the trash pit with all the mushrooms for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we didn't really sort of that was very archaic. Yeah, he just sort of makes gruel that you can technically live off kind of food replicator. We didn't come across a proper food replicator until the BioLife
But we have to
episodes.
remember that Reese was, a little
really
elderly.
Old, a little elderly.
A little elderly.
A little elderly.
So we have, the bastards have had, for the majority of this time, a BioLife food replicator on board their ship.
Yes.
And that one's a bit fancier. That's the thing that you can bang in. There's all kinds of options on there that you can type in on a little screen and it will just produce it for you near instantaneously.
Unreal.
It 3D prints these things at a sort of a molecular level and creates food that has the same flavor profiles, textures, and just general appearance of foods that would otherwise be made from living things.
Ooh. Okay, living things. Like, I guess you're saying vegetables and meats and things like this, or?
Yep.
Okay.
That's exactly that.
What about I want to get some rock. No.
I mean, salt's a rock.
Salt's a rock, yeah.
Salt is a rock.
Tasty rock.
That's my
That's
favorite rock.
That's the rock that, like, the cornerstone of my diet, really.
Yeah, love salt. Salt's my favorite food.
Well, now I know what you're ordering. One salt rock, please.
I'm excited for this because we talk about food replicators all the time, right? But we, or at least for me, like I don't know the intricacies of how they work. And they're so important to us. They're so important to me. Oh my God. I mean, like we went out of our way to take a food replicator in Cleo Day. And that was the
best get.
That was
like
the best
we kind of
get.
established food replicators as being part of Cleo's backstory.
Yeah.
Yes.
People have been grievously injured in the name of the food replicator.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. And so, I mean, let's learn. Let's figure it out.
So food replicators, at their core, they are a device you can install in your home or on your ship that will convert the energy produced by star sand directly into congestible matter.
Oh, that incredibly useful star sand at it once again.
Yes, I mean, there's a little bit of space magic involved, but I think
just a little bit.
I think we've come close to explaining bits and pieces of it inside the episodes, but let's go a little deeper and let's answer some of the more yearning questions we have. So I'll maybe taking questions from both Dan and Tay. We've also got a bunch of very good questions from our Discord. Details in the show notes if you want to join in and ask us your own questions about the next one. And because we've gone for a much more sort of specific lore dive topic than we usually do, I think we're going to really focus on answering these little questions and stuff rather than breaking this down into too many parts. Because I mean, food replicators, I think we know at their core what they are, but let's get into the nitty gritties. Let's get into the bigger philosophical questions that food replicators draw out of us.
They do pose many philosophical questions, food replicators. Well, just off the top of my head, looking at a brilliant list in front of us, Ren asks, what are the replicators powered by? Well, Ren, listen back 1 minute and you'll hear the answer.
Well, they are powered by electricity, essentially. And star sand is this unique chemical, if you will, that is just full of an insane amount of potential energy that can be got out of it using the appropriate machines. And those machines can convert that energy into all kinds of different energies. Primarily, we have the sort of plasma that shoots from blasters and produces energy shields. We have the jet propulsion of starships, but we also have the biological matter that can be generated molecule by molecule by a food replicator.
And then, I mean, didn't Boris destroy everything when he made the butter knife? Because he took the batteries for the life support out.
Oh, yeah.
And that killed the food replicator.
So, yeah, star sand has got this sort of thing where you've got a generator that can suck that power out and turn it into electricity. But then you got to put that electricity somewhere. And the way ships are going to function is that there is big backup batteries that give you a certain amount of power for all your essential functions. So you've got one that makes your ship go, one that runs your shields, one that runs your warp drive, and also one that runs all of your just general life support type functions. You want to have these things separate because you don't want to accidentally punch in too many warps and then suddenly realize you're completely out of power in all your main batteries and you can no longer breathe. So there's a separate one. But Boris did use that to make the butter knife.
So I guess after getting back to base, Boris can add in an extra battery that kind of, I suppose we placed it, but now there's a different battery pack on the ship, so it's no longer pulling from the same energy source.
Yeah, you've been souped up to have one more battery pack.
Yeah, excellent.
For your butter knife situation.
Oh, good. I'd forgotten about the dangling battery pack on the back of the ship, but
it got put inside a sort of a glass bubble, didn't it?
Yeah.
That, what's that? That
The
board
dome.
game where you
the dome, yeah.
That board game where you got little
Mousetrap.
Yes.
No, the one where there's the bobble with the dice inside it.
Sorry.
I thought that didn't Mousetrap have that?
It
Oh,
did.
no.
Mousetrap had a dome, but the one that you're talking about is either Sorry or Yahtzee or something where you have to
It's
it wasn't
one of those.
Yahtzee. It was.
Yeah.
I think it was Sorry. I remember the commercial. But that's not the only thing we're wondering about. What are replicators powered by? Okay, we got it. But what is stopping somebody like Boris from turning a food replicator into something that can create other materials like clothes or batteries or anything? And that's coming from the fabulous inner workings and 24-hour open brain of Octopus.
Ooh, hello.
Who has
that's-
just broken through the mold right there with the ultimate world-breaking.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a
Concern.
huge question. If this
Straight
thing can
to
take
it.
energy and turn it into matter, what is stopping someone from doing that? And I think not a lot, realistically.
Oh, right.
I mean, you've seen Cleo has turned one into a bomb before, and it was a very weird, it was like a matter bomb. It didn't just create an explosion, it created a torrent of random confused
That's right.
matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because ultimately that's what it's designed to do, is to turn energy into matter. I mean, I will say that any given food replicator, I think, is fitted with a certain scope. It has these sort of lasery things that are going to bombard your baseline matter, because you have to put matter in as well to get matter out.
Right.
So it's taking just air and it's reconfiguring the atomic structure of them to turn it into new kinds of molecules that you can make food out of, which does mean there would be a limit to the kinds of things, but it could definitely produce, you could have it like just churn out a bunch of sand or a bunch of paper, and there's nothing that would stop it doing that. You'd struggle to make like super dense metals and that sort of thing because it's just not built for it. But that said, someone could modify and soup up the basic workings of a food replicator to turn it into something that could, 3D print steel.
Right. So then, if it can't be making those hard steels or ceramics, does that mean that inside the food replicator is a set of pre-existing dishes and cutlery?
I mean, definitely in some cases. I think it depends on the food replicator. If you remember, going back to Cleo Day, they actually had all the disposable cutlery you would get and take under the food replicator, and they would like slop it onto it for you. I've always assumed that like food replicators, they're not really giving you like the fine dining experience. They are giving you disposable, paper plates and things.
Like even the fancy one that we've got our hands on now is just a bit of an upgrade, right? It's still not as good as like... But you see it already with the bastards. Like, they love getting a fried tentacle.
Yeah, like actual cooking is still a thing.
Yeah.
I guess that's an important thing to mention is that, like, again, you could turn a food replicator into this thing that will create, like, will literally build devices or make toys or whatever for you. But I mean, that is, these devices already do exist. I mean, remember K2K2 actually had a fabricator that was making the ghost axe, for example. And they're just really expensive, prohibitively expensive, to the point where the majority of artisans and chefs are just doing things the old-fashioned way because ultimately, like, buy real ingredients and make it is still cheaper than, I mean, maybe in the long run. Like, you got something like stews where they do like a lot of quick trade, like the food replicators pay for themselves, and they've got like strange salvaged food replicators that they've just found in the trash pile that is Prospect Town.
So I know we're on food replicators, but now that I'm hearing that a food replicator couldn't, for example, start making grenades, it makes me quickly think of weapons, because weapons are powered by star sand as well. But I guess the projectile that's being fired from these weapons is like plasma or laser based. So I guess they're, it's a bit of a detour, but would there be weapons out there that have ammunition bases,
and then they have like a matter generator built inside them?
Yeah, something like this. Or is it much like bullets need to be made at a factory type thing? You can't just generate them in a replicator, like a bullet replicator.
I would imagine if there's like any, like units that use a lot of ammunition-based like bullet guns, that it would be 100% like in their best interests to have an ammunition generator on board. And they could have just like, a really specific thing. You just type in, this is the kind of ammo and the kind of size they want. We bing, 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 and just like spit it all out, the same as a food replicator. And I'm going to go out and say that technology exists in our universe. Okay. It's a thing.
So this is just a restriction placed upon the food replicator that stops it from being able to do that, or it's just they're built different,
I think they're just built different. There's like a certain range of matter that it's been constructed to generate. And within that range, I mean, if someone really knew their shit, they knew their chemistry and they knew the electronics involved, they could definitely like cheat the system and have it make things beyond the scope of what's programmed into it.
These food bullets, they'll hurt. They might not kill you, but they might.
Well, yeah, you could just make like really, really. I mean,
if you shoot anything
soup
fast enough,
exactly. I'm trying to.
You can drop a penny off a skyscraper and slice a guy in half.
Oh, yeah.
So Fiona has asked a question I think actually does sort of lead into this. What happens to any leftovers or waste? Is it all constantly recycled until it is just great mush, or does it get discreetly chucked away in a void?
Ooh. I really like this.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And, I mean, for starters, I would say that is down to the individual consumer, because people could always choose to just put it in the trash. But the food replicator takes its matter from somewhere. So you could always feed, food waste, trash, just general stuff. Like there'd be like a list of do's and do nots. You just like look at it like, oh yeah, can I put plastic packaging in this? Oh yeah, I can. And it will just use it as the baseline matter that it's going to reconfigure into food.
I like that.
I
feel like this doesn't come up because Cleo doesn't
have leftovers.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the bastards don't have leftovers.
But I'm thinking about it. If we were to put leftovers back into the food replicator on our ships or in our bases, that's okay. I'm okay with eating that. But like, say we're on a cruise and it's encouraged that you put your food waste back in, then maybe I'd be a bit more like, oh, maybe I don't want to eat the food replicators on the cruise if that's the case.
I think the real trick is you have like a food waste receptacle somewhere else, but then like you don't see it.
You don't tell them that it's feeding back into the system.
Nobody has to see it.
It's probably kind of popularly understood in society that like we are eating. It's like reclaimed water, right?
Yes.
Like there are places who have
like London, where you drink out of the tap. It's been through 8 people, but by the time it goes into your mouth,
probably. I mean, most places are like this. Like when I lived in Florida, it's really popular for people to have this in-ground sprinkler system because of the grass is all like implanted turf. Like it's not natural grass. It's like squares of turf that's been put down. Okay. And so people have these in-ground sprinkler systems that are attached to a system in your house and they like come up out of the ground.
And use the grey water.
And it's great. Yeah. Sometimes you'll see signs in places like in the yard that says like, hey, this is reclaimed water. Like just
don't drink it.
Maybe don't like play in it.
I'm having so much fun. Whee!
Yeah. And I mean, that's been a thing for like more than 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
So imagine a world where this is just kind of normal. You just kind of accept it. Like even if you found it a little bit gross, you just like, okay, whatever. Like
I think like we don't have the capability to do it with food yet, but like by then, 100%. And I don't think we'd even care.
Oh, leftover sauce. Actually, now I'm back on board.
Well, because you're not actually getting the leftover, right? Like the sauce went into the pit and it got converted into matter.
Oh no, I'm thinking of like, it's just called leftover sauce, and
it's just the bucket.
It's just the bucket. It's just been like, and I think
it's like a stock pot. It just gets better and better.
Exactly. I think Z's back on board. I think that might be nice.
That is definitely
that could be something we could establish in the canon at some point. Like Z's, like it's got to convince Cleo, like you don't have to lick every plate clean. I've got this sauce bucket.
That does not sound like something that Z would be on board with. But you know what? Let's do it. Let's go.
I think it might be a
sounds a little gross for Z. But
it does. Now I'm thinking about it.
Well, I mean, Z is kind of grosser because he doesn't really understand, humanoid bodies or any of that sort of thing. Like he's, he is floating in a honey boy that is just kind of full of trash.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll figure it out.
Like I think like he wouldn't want to get the bucket of sauce on him, but he would eat it.
I'll eat it.
Okay. These are really important distinctions.
I think he's like a cat, like they're very, very clean. But
if he designates it as a thing that's okay, then it doesn't matter what it is. It's okay. So this is how leftover sauce could get slowly integrated into our home.
It actually makes me remember, like, if you go back to stews, they had like an assembly line of different food generators, and they just all assigned them all like you were literally just the red sauce machine. You make the red sauce, so then they could go under them all.
Delicious.
Oh, there's got to be a leftover sauce now.
So yeah, that sort of brings in this notion as well that, I mean, you guys have the 2 different food replicators on board the Grey Dragon now. So you've got the BioLife one that produces kind of just populist junk food kind of stuff, makes all your
the classics.
Cheeseburgers and your breakfast cereals and your pancakes and.
Wait, does coffee come from a food replicator?
Probably.
Oh yeah,
or is that a different? Is there a beverage replicator? Is it different?
There's
or is
definitely
it the same?
like there are dedicated beverage replicators.
Okay.
You can get. I mean, it's like how Stews has these sauce ones.
Yeah.
I feel like there's probably a lot of stuff you can buy. But
I feel like you can have a whole kitchen of like different specialized replicators. And the BioLife one you've got just happens to be like sort of a top model, hey, this will make anything kind of deal.
Yeah. But I feel like if you went up to it and were like, give me a coffee, it would be like, all right.
Yeah.
But the average food replicator is pretty grim, It just gives you like what Reese gave you when you first came on board. Like just kind of like a grey porridgey paste that is nutritious.
That is dark.
Well,
and like
that
like
just
nutritious,
shows us that we've leveled up. Our characters
nutritious
have gotten...
and delicious, but like lacking that sort of complexity of texture that like a really good one can bring.
Like so much vegetarian food, sadly.
But I think that does lead into a question from Ozark Bear.
Oh, hello, Ozark Bear.
How does the food replicator assimilate new recipes?
Ooh.
Does it scan things in? Or how does that work?
I think about this all the time.
Because you want to get that DLC pack.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is there DLC?
Yeah. I think rather than DLC, it'd be like new firmware would be the main one. Like you'd
Like
have
it would
to like
patch in.
yeah, you'd have to like redo your thing, and you get the new recipes. But then obviously some more modern ones, like there'd be some like sort of space Kickstarter things like, hey, our one has limitless downloadable recipes.
But then it's like, so there, like if we're saying that there are different types of food replicators in the world, and like
Yeah, different brands, like recipes for one wouldn't actually work on another one because of how they actually work. It's like how you get like a Mac or a PC.
Okay.
Like they actually fundamentally do the job in a different way.
Okay.
And I'm thinking now, is it cartridge or is it Wi-Fi? Because there's like a fun idea of, finding actual hardware that you could feed in to get, like maybe that's for the special ones, and then probably there's a bunch of basics like that are available on online or something
Imagine
like that.
the wars that we could start over. Like we know that guy has the last barbecue chicken in the galaxy.
He's got the Szechuan sauce, and that's the last cartridge for Szechuan, and then after it's used, it deletes itself. And
we know that he has banana pudding.
Capitalism. It's the only way to make money off these things is to have them be single use.
Exactly.
It's just like in video games, where
video
it's
game like cartridge, a food cartridge. You like put it in.
It's almost like this is an old school way that food replicators used to work, and you would have to get an emulator to get your food replicator to even do these.
Oh,
it's like, and that's it. Banana pudding night, one night only.
I like the idea as well. There's an entire culture of open source food replicator recipes, and it's like, oh, this is so cool. You get into it, you get into the forums, you like start getting them all, and then you realize, oh, these are all so gross. These are all like almost good, but they just taste a bit.
I know
off.
it's like putting a limit on it, but I quite like the idea that on the food replicator there's a bunch of open cassette spots, and as you push this cassette in, that becomes the button for the food that you're getting type thing. So it's like you can only make Szechuan sauce once with the cassette plugged in type thing. So an empty food replicator would just have a row of empty sockets, and then as you're in the video game traveling around the universe finding these extra cassettes, you can slot them in, but you've only got so many spots, and they can boop, boop, boop.
That is so Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, you could be like, cartridge upgrade slots, so you can replace your entire like recipe book, but also you can get add-ons that chunk in on top.
Do you think the add-ons are temporary, like you would exhaust it, or do you think it's like
I think
you
it's
can
just
take it out like a CD?
Think maybe the way Dan said it, you can slot one in and you slot it out, and you've only got so many slots. Is quite fun.
But like the actual cartridge, like the data on the cartridge, like if that cartridge is for banana pudding.
Well, I think it's just a schematic. It just tells the machine how to do it.
Like you could take it out like a cassette and just be like, we're not doing banana pudding right now.
Yeah.
Did you ever see in the real world there was that juice thing where like you had the special juicer and you had to buy the special packets, and then it would only work if you bought the right packets and they had a little barcode on it or whatever, so that your machine could like tell you could get your special juices, but you had to buy the packets from them and that sort of thing. Well, there's another one. There was a coffee machine that had
like Keurigs.
So the one that had the Wi-Fi, and like you had like all these different like baristas were feeding this information back to a central server. So then you could like, oh, I want to brew my coffee like they're making in this one cool little cafe in San Francisco. You'd push the button and off it would go. But that company folded, and now people have these like $10,000 paperweights because the machine doesn't work without that connection back to the server. They literally
Service
cannot brew coffee.
Software as a service, baby. You ain't never owned shit.
Yeah,
that's scary.
I think food replicators might be, like there might be some that are kind of like that. Where they're
holy
like,
heck! So if we
how do we make more money? Oh, I know, we make
if we kill BioLife,
if we
we're in trouble.
We actually destroy a big bad, but we make a lot of people starve, and then we become villains. We can't destroy BioLife.
You just ruined our whole. This. It was so easy to hate BioLife.
This episode
before.
was just meant to be about food replicators, and now we've realized that we can't destroy one of the biggest evil companies in the universe because they've got a monopoly on food replicators.
It's fine. There's got to be a workaround for this. We'll figure it out.
Your guys' one clearly
works
without an internet connection, right? Like, or does it?
That's what I was
it's cartridges,
thinking,
right? Maybe the cartridges.
It's not just cartridges, because we ask it for lots of stuff.
And I know, but
it's the nice one. And the thing is like when you were talking about how it might be firmware based, like I was thinking to myself, like that means it's connecting to something. And is this how we get? Where we are? Is this how we get found constantly? Like, is this the one way that we're being tracked? That
we've been tracked this whole time by our greed for sources and nice foods. Glob dang.
Dick is like,
But when you
yeah.
when you get the
that's
service
not
agreement,
something obviously I've thought of, but like
it's
that
the
could be a
terms
plot
and
point one
uses
day.
agreement that
It's
pops up at the start that we
100%
skipped
what's
past.
happening.
Yeah, it's like we will be
Accept,
checking.
accept.
Just give me the source. Accept.
Nobody
accept.
reads that EULA.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck,
And
we've
we
been done by
didn't.
EULA. We've been done by EULA.
It happens all the time. And you know what? This is it. They know where we are. They can track us. They have all of our data. They know what we like.
Yeah.
One day they're going to capture us and they're going to be like,
working
here's
out
your
what
favorite
foods people
foods.
like
Love
would be
dang.
very valuable to a company that makes food.
You
Well,
know that
don't tell the craw that. All right. So
Nah, they didn't even need to know that to get us good.
yeah, they just made soup.
We were like, what's that soup?
But they know that we're hot soup boys.
We are hot soup boys. So, okay, how does the food replicator assimilate new recipes? Obviously, there's multiple ways that could work, because I think the cartridges definitely happen for some.
I like that.
And I like the cartridge idea, and I think we need to like dig into that, because for me,
that
it's
could be like a great loot reward. That's like
such a cool and I think
Yeah.
so much cool stuff could happen based around like we're looking for the last whatever in the galaxy.
Yeah.
We heard about something, or like Reese since Reese is old, Reese is like, hey, have you guys ever heard of this kind of food that like it's supposed to be really cool? And we're like, what
they
is
call
that?
it mac and cheese.
What?
Well,
mac
actually-
and cheese?
So just watching the Mandalorian recently, hopefully this isn't too much of a spoiler, but at one point there is a robot bar and they're all drinking a fluid that, kind of stimulates the robots in a way and helps repair some like inner circuitry at the same time. And it's the only drink that's
kinda
available. Could the food replicator make something similar for droids and for synths?
I think they would have a completely different system. Like they would have like a
I would
food
think so.
emulator that they plug into or something. You like ka-chunk, and then you get to experience some of the sensations that a biological life form would.
We need to get a synth on the ship so that
we
can
need a
learn
synth on
about.
board.
We need to learn
Because
about.
they
their
don't
life.
have any internal organs. They've got no way of like consuming any sort of
But, like,
liquids. And
the
like
stuff
we
that
have
they're
established as
eating-
well that rather than drinking, like an adventurous young synth might use magnets to,
Right,
to
yes,
mess up
the
their
magnets.
brain.
Yes. Well, maybe it could be a drink filled with, ferro fluid, little magnets.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's
magnets
a lot
that
of
flow all through your circuitry.
There's
and
a lot
give
of
you like a
stuff
whole,
that a synth might
like not
drink.
just a head high, but they give you a body high.
That's cool.
Because I mean, like they might want to tune up somehow, or they might need lubricant, or there
Yeah.
might be something that like actually does force like a firmware upgrade on them if they drink it, or maybe it's not even a drink. Maybe it's like a data stream, and we see it as a drink, but for them, it's like
Yeah.
they're just like opening up to receive some other
Yeah, it's like a
data
little
delivery.
hose, and you're like ka-chunk into your mouth. It's like
Yeah. Who knows
quite
what
fun.
it is? I think that a synth bar. Can you imagine?
Oh, I want to go to one now.
Oh, I mean, a synth bar would be great, and maybe they've got like this one shitty little like biological table. It's like, oh yeah,
There's this
we
one, like-
we got drinks for you. It's a
A
sludge.
food replicator in the corner that's just covered in dirt and dust. But it
I
does
like
make me
it.
think now, because obviously we're looking at a food replicator from our crew, which is currently human, bear, and jelly. What about the Darks and what about Wraiths and other races? Would they be using the food replicator in the same way? Is it just a different menu set that they partake from? Or has the food in mid-space become like quite universal and homogenized at this point?
I would say it hasn't, just because that would be boring.
Yeah, I mean, I think like maybe like sort of central mid-space has sort of found its crowd in terms of like what the dominant species around are. But then you've got to imagine you've got this entire galaxy with hundreds, if not thousands, of different sentient life forms, all with unique biological aspects to them.
Palettes and palette
Yeah, so they're definitely
preferences.
different palettes, but also just different things that they're even able to consume.
Right, yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there'd be people who, there'd be species that just can't handle certain types of matter, like their insides just aren't built for. I mean, even just on Earth, you look at a human versus a cow, and like a cow can sit around eating grass all day, and we can't do that.
Well, so actually,
definitely
now
be-
we've
yeah.
even got a species like that, the jellies. So they need to eat rocks, right, and to get their food. But a food replicator couldn't make rocks for them, so
No.
so they would have to be
They would have to have a separate source of minerals. Yeah,
like a old steam train. They would have to have a massive cart in the back just filled with like rocks. Again, makes me think of the big rock guy from Neverending Story. He's just like these
Rocky, that-
hands, and he's just eating rocks. Yeah.
I feel like when you see food replicators in movies and in TV shows, they always have a mixture of it's not
Yeah.
just humanoid food ever.
Yeah.
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 And I
think
think it would
BioLife
never
definitely
be
would
like
have thought
that.
of that.
No.
Like, they would definitely even like sort of slightly more obscure tastes and palates to be like, oh, we got one thing for you. You know, you can have that one thing. And like you can survive even if you got like a shitty version. But also, I think they would have like regional variants.
Yes.
Like you guys have
like
got,
McDonald's.
yeah, you guys have got like sort of like a humanoid food replicator.
The most global fucking thing. But I guess in mid-space it would be
McDonald's
regional.
does regionalize.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking from a universal perspective. It's like, well, it comes from Earth. It's got McDonald's.
Yeah, no. McDonald's has different menus for different regions
Yes,
and different countries.
I've seen this.
And it's probably like the most integrated version of that we have. Because what is a bigger chain than that we can look at the pattern of? You know, I think that would be what it would be like. But I mean, my own humble opinion is that if there's ever a moment for us to say, like, is this thing going to be primarily geared towards humans? I feel like the answer is always going to be no, just because it's boring. Like, if you're in the magical, incredible future and you have all these, like, different kinds of just creatures. I mean, there's species galore, alien life, different worlds. If there's ever a context where that's not addressed, it's just like, what a boring place. Like, I think even New Terra would address it. And that would be the epicenter of humanoid activity, right? Like, but I think even they would be like, our humans go out into the universe and they acquire tastes for other stuff.
Well,
and
there's
trade
also, I mean, like,
happens.
even within the Empire, like all those other planets that aren't New Terra, they have their own indigenous species, their own dominant, you know, life forms that are, you know, maybe sort of humanoid or at least intelligent, sentient beings. And they, you know, they're only part of the Empire because if you go back thousands of years, they were imperialist expansionists and they just took over an entire area of space.
Yeah.
So a lot of these places are still going to have a lot of their traditional culture and cuisine at least partially intact.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I dig it.
Yeah.
We didn't even finish answering Ozark's question. Is there any food item limitation? I'm assuming some foods for different aliens might be lethal to other species and so forth. And can you give someone with a nut allergy, for example, food from the same replicator?
Yeah.
Well, I think the latter question is 100% down to the hygiene of the people operating it.
Don't you think that a food replicator would have like a clean
Like
button?
if you have just made something with a bunch of allergens in it and you haven't cleaned it down properly, then yeah, it's dangerous. But if you don't, like the replicator itself is creating this stuff on a molecular level. So it never had nuts in it, you know?
So it wouldn't be like, it just wouldn't have the allergen present type thing.
No, you would literally just like type in all your allergies and it would spit you out something that was totally safe.
But if it was your replicator, wouldn't it just, you'd have a profile saved.
Yeah.
And it would,
Oh, yeah.
And it might learn about you, right? Because
profiles is out. Like why hadn't we even thought of that yet? Like that's, definitely a thing. Especially if you've got, you're in a world with a bunch of different species all cohabitating.
and it knows you.
Yeah.
And it's
you
like,
need to have a specific profile that not only covers your allergies, but your like, you know, your biological needs as your species and your
doesn't
tastes
feed you uranium in the meal.
Yeah.
that's a thing that's happening now. Like people are studying how to create food replicators. And I think it's Big Bad Nestle is doing a lot of study into this right now and trying to figure out if they can create things that will completely meet all humanoid nutritional needs. Like, is there a way?
Grain is made of people.
Yeah, and it's like, well, where are you starting from? Like, are you starting with that chocolate shit? Are you starting with Nesquik because that's never gonna do it, fam. But it's interesting to think about that. Like, wouldn't it be amazing if you could just like log into a machine and it would just know like you need some iron. Look at you.
Oh, so you could even like you do like a little finger prick and it like checks your bloodstream and it's like, hey guy, I'm just going to supplement your meal with this stuff.
Yeah.
So that you are like as healthy as you can possibly be through your nutrition.
Can you imagine?
While also eating something exactly what you want to eat.
Y'all, future people are going to live so much better than us. Much better than us.
Oh, yep. Well, I'm not good at cooking, but I can do the dishes, so at least I'll still have a job.
No, they won't even need that, Dan, because you can probably eat the plate, fam. Like
it's gonna be a paper plate, and then you just stuff it in the back to be like turned back into food afterwards.
That's like back in medieval times when they would just eat off a very hard piece of bread.
And
that was the plate. And then you'd eat the you'd eat your plate at the end
I
of the
feel like
evening.
we're circling back around to that, and people think it's so futuristic and smart, and I'm like, okay.
I saw a thing about like how do rich lords eat in medieval times versus peasants.
Yeah.
And rich lords like covered their food in so many spices that like today's palate, you'd just be like, this is disgusting. Like they've used so much of every spice, but it's like a flex of power, right? It's a flex of like, I'm
Weird.
so important that I can afford all these spices. And so like the tarts that they would eat, the foods that they would eat were just so heavily spiced that we'd find it disgusting. Then when they showed what the peasants were eating, the peasants were like living off the land. So the peasants were eating like fresh caught salmon, potatoes, herbs just from the forest and stuff like that. Like they were eating what we would eat now and consider fine dining.
I've heard
and what
this.
was being eaten by the nobles is just like was just such a flex of wealth that you wouldn't even consider it food type stuff. Like
I feel like I was reading something about this where it was like people that were in jail were being fed lobster
yeah, because it was
cheap and nobody
it was
liked
sea
it.
rats.
Yeah.
It was yeah.
And so all these, and I'm just like reading this, and I'm like, how does one get into that
It's a lot
jail?
of work as well getting the meat out of a lobster. Who wants to
Humanity
do that?
changes, huh? It goes through some wild changes.
And now lobster is expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez.
Yeah, because it's because we fished it all, though.
Well,
like
no,
all
it's
those sort of
because
things. Like
let's address it properly. It's because of the secret war against the Lobster King that is happening in the Atlantic.
You
And
got so
Lobster.
serious there. I got scared. I was like,
because
what are
of
we
the
about?
look, I know that the news doesn't want to talk about it, but we
Oh my
lose
God.
so many of our brightest and greatest people to the lobster war against the Lobster King and the crustacean army. And
Yeah, no,
that's
you're
why
right.
and the
it's-
whole thing's such bullshit because lobsters, like, they just want to get on with their own shit under the ocean. Like, they really don't want to fight us.
But because we've been farming so much kelp and trying to get all of that for our sushi, they've been fighting back, and now there's a massive conflict. And it's pushed prices up too high.
That's what it is.
Lobster King, if you're listening, long may you reign. But also, we need to come to some peace agreements against the great crustaceans.
It's been a horrible war.
It was too many, gone too soon.
So Ren has another interesting question.
Oh, here we go.
And this is a doozy, this one.
Ooh.
Would it be possible to replicate living creatures, or at least their organs, in a food replicator? And if so, wouldn't this cripple the economy of the black market? Come to think of it, how do food replicators in general not ruin the food economy, since people could replicate foods on their own instead of buying them from merchants' shops, etc.?
Whoa.
So that's two
very
questions.
Insightful, Ren.
Amazing.
That's two questions. Should we let's deal with them one by one?
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, replicating organs. Holy shit. I mean, I think you'd have to hotwire your food replicator to get it to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But if it can make you like a steak, then why can't it make you a heart,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah. I think that would be a weird thing if it couldn't do that, because people are eating that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that there probably are like official like sort of medical units that can recreate the organs of like species that they have studied.
Yeah.
So obviously like all the like humans, darks, wraiths, jellies are all probably going to be okay. And like you could probably do a scan and like come up with it if you had like the appropriate medical technician on board. But I love the idea that someone who doesn't have access to that sort of technology could actually like do some sort of jailbreak, basically their food replicator, and install some crazy like shit that they've downloaded and get it to produce an organ for a transplant.
We're going to have to jailbreak a food replicator.
I mean,
now.
100%. That's definitely a thing that has been done, can be done. Like, if you were in the know, like, I bet you Boris legitimately already knows how to do it,
But there's probably some kind of difference, like food grade versus medical grade. Because if you think about it, if food replicators work off of these like knowledge schematics, then like wouldn't it be like somebody would have had to create the schematic? And I guess in the future probably AI is doing it, whatever. But I mean, if we did this like a couple months ago, maybe we wouldn't have thought that. Maybe we would have been like, some 3D modeler had to build that schematic, right? And so then if you were a 3D modeler and you're modeling a human heart, there's a difference between modeling like the human heart for like meat
Good enough to
purposes,
eat.
and then a human heart for medical purposes would have to have all of the working and like individualized pieces.
That's true. Because like, I imagine as well, like food replicators, like if it makes you steak or some sort of meat product or like a fish or whatever, it is just kind of making like this idealized, easy to eat version.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't need to be true to nature,
But the
because that's not what you're asking
complexities of
for.
it would not be present, because you don't need to know that all the capillaries are there.
Yeah. In fact, you probably prefer that they're not. You probably just really want like a nice textured, proteiny, fatty thing on your plate, you know?
Because that's what a steak is to you anyway. And
Super
then it
fun.
also kind of is like, there's a difference between like meat that you buy in the store and then like an organ that's okay for transplant.
Well, it's got to still be alive.
Exactly.
You know?
Like meat is dead.
So what we're saying is that Taylor's correct. There are now it now exists in the world that at hospitals there are organ replicators.
I like it.
Specific replicator built to help doctors. And we know a doctor who probably goes for hearts and brains
All the time.
all the time.
I think like transplants
But
are probably
he is
like...
using the food schematics. That's the problem.
I mean, I think transplants are probably needed less often in this world because you do have a sort of nanotechnology that can promote healing. So you can actually you can regrow them inside your own body
Have we
as well.
grown out of the need of creating organs?
But I don't know. I think it would still be like, say if you lost the entire organ, like it's just gone. So there's nothing left for these nanobots to cling to recreate it. It doesn't know what your body looked like. It just knows what the cells that are left are like. So it wouldn't be able to recreate an organ from completely from scratch. You would need to print one and stick it in.
So so Taylor's medical replicators exist.
I think they're now canon.
They're now canon.
I love the idea as well that someone invented the food replicator, and then the medical community were like,
dope.
Okay, yeah, give me that because
Give me
I'm
that.
gonna make it make hearts.
Give me
now.
that.
Because especially on the outer rim, right, where maybe nanobots are in less, maybe they have less of them, or deliveries are fewer. So yeah,
This stuff becomes increasingly important the further out you go, I think.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So the second question though, how do food replicators not ruin the food economy? Because people can just replicate foods instead of buying them.
Oh, that's so relevant right now.
The big one is just there's an economy of scale, and companies like BioLife have just decided that a food replicator is a specialty expensive item. They are prohibitively expensive. If you can save up your money and buy one and look after it really well so it lasts you for your whole life, yeah, you'll save money on food. But, you've got to have that investment. You've got to actually be able to afford to do it in the first place. And a lot of people, they can't just go buy a food replicator, so they still got to buy food, you still got to eat. And a lot of the food, a lot of the mass-produced food that you're going and buying in the store was made in a food replicator.
I almost say the opposite of you saying that they're prohibitively expensive. Maybe by the time that this tech has been around for such a long time, we know that the original one or one of the early versions that we find in Reese when we first meet Reese works that way. But in the time that we're in now, they can do a lot more. Maybe it becomes like a civic right. You have the right to your speech, you have a right to internet connection, and maybe you have a right to a food replicator type thing. So maybe it's
not necessarily a good one.
Yeah, maybe not a good one. So maybe it's the opposite. Everyone has access to these things, but because you have access to them and because you've always got them, you aspire to a chef-prepared meal or a natural...
Well, you still go to a restaurant to get something good because, especially if your food replicator, if you've got like a dodgy old one that just gives you patty bread, it's all square and grey, tastes kind of like food, but also...
So maybe
the real thing, is always going to be nicer. You got that sort of thing as well. It was vaguely brought up, but Trevor had this idealism of... food from the land, grown, and it's artisan and it's prepared properly. And I feel like it might be a bit of a hipster thing, but also there'd be a lot of cultures and communities who would just still have that real connection to agriculture is part of what made us who we are, and we're going to keep doing it, even if we're doing sort of a space age version of it. We want to grow some food and cook it and eat it because that's nice, it's fun, it's part of the experience of being an intelligent life form.
It's fancier.
It also makes me think of, we've got music everywhere, right? It's in our phones, it's on YouTube, Spotify, we can get music everywhere, but it's not depreciated our appreciation for music, and we still go see live music. We still like to partake in it in all the ways that we can. So maybe food replicators would have some parallels to that.
I think as well, there might be a certain thing, it doesn't cost that much to get food to live on, but you're eating crap because you don't have a space to prepare it and so on. You just have to keep buying pre-prepared fast foods and stuff, and you end up having a really rich, salty, not healthy diet. I think it would be the sort of same thing, but the opposite. At home, you've got this food replicator, and it's not necessarily giving you everything you want. It's just maybe spitting out the same meal over and over.
Spitting it out, but as you said earlier, it would see, okay, you need more iron. So I'm making the same meal. It's got the iron that you need. It's got all the vitamins and minerals that you need, but it's the same meal. So at some point, maybe the list of free meals from the Wi-Fi gets boring.
I'm imagining as well, yeah. That sort of that cheap one everyone has is like 6 options or something.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
And that's when you go out and like someone comes home, I've got a new cartridge, and you're like, what the fuck? There's a new
Spaghetti
cartridge.
again.
Holy shit, chuck it in. And then for a week, everyone's eating the new meal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trade food replicators because they've got a different model.
Can you
It's
imagine
got,
showing
like-
up at school and look, anyone want to trade me? I've got chicken nuggets here. I want mashed potatoes. Who's got mashed potatoes? You know,
Oh, that's cool. I like that. I do think that like our introduction to food replicators, I think we're kind of in like a really niche moment of privilege and that we have a good one.
Yeah, I think the bastards are privileged
But
in that
most
sense.
people
Like,
don't. And I think that again we see that in Cleo Day where like that was
Yes.
the first time they saw a food replicator.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
And it was crap. It just made like water and booze and hamburgers or whatever. And that was it.
3 or 4 options. It was like not a good one.
And they
but
thought
it was
that was
like,
amazing.
Yeah.
And it was. I mean, this is on a planet where it is not standard, where people do not have like the things that keep them alive, and they have to fight to actually
Yeah.
stay alive. Something like that is the sort of basic standard of living. It's like, oh my god, this is
Well, I mean,
game changer.
Imagine again on Dias, you know, we were excited to try and steal some cans. So yeah, food replicators definitely were, you know, like we were going for the physical item. Though I'm sure that you've only ever had food replicator, and then someone from Dias is like, well, here's a can. You'd be like, holy shit, luxury, a can.
That's the
So
thing.
it's
I mean, like
it's
the
opposite,
scarcity
right?
of different cultures
Exactly,
would be so
yeah.
interesting. And
Yeah.
it's just, it opens up an entire new way of living to think that people are kind of operating most of the time off of the scarcity of these limited crappy food replicators.
Mm-hmm.
And then the trading of cartridges and how that would like shape a community and the jobs that would come out of it. You could be like a cartridge hunter and trader. I want that character
Oh,
now.
you open up your coat and you've just
Yeah.
got,
You would have like
You want to buy a recipe?
oh, I've got lots of pea soup. You want a pea soup?
Pea soup. This is from This is pre-colonial war pea soup. You know.
you know, like
it's just like imagine the stuff they would have. Like they would be
Yeah.
like a rare goods trader and like holed up in some space
Oh,
station.
I want to see that shop. It's like record hunting, right? When you go to a
It would be
try and buy
just like
vinyls,
that, just
and
like
you're just
that.
looking through all these cartridges. Oh, I found a
You
good
know
one.
that shop on Prospect Town is right there. Like, Prospect Town definitely has that place.
And you know too that like if you know the person that owns it and runs it, like you could go up and be like, "You have anything weird?" And they'd be like, "You would not believe it."
Yeah. There's a
Let
basement.
me go get that out of the back.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, in the
yeah.
year 4251, everyone went through this weird fucking phase where
Yeah.
they were eating like kind of fuzzy food. Like
Yeah.
it had like fur on it.
Or even they just did a thing where it's like this one burger was released, but they accidentally misprogrammed a thing. So it looks like burger, it feels like burger, but it tastes like milkshake. The entire thing. There's not one part of
Yes!
it that doesn't taste like milkshake, and it was discontinued after a week. And there's only 5 of these left in the universe, type thing.
And there's
you know?
probably some incredible artisan somewhere who's super skilled at creating these. You know, like
Yes.
in the end of the new Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Oh,
Where
yeah.
she's just like in her bubble, like doing her like building and stuff. And it's like, imagine if there's somewhere in the universe, there's like somebody trapped in a bubble that's like
Would there be the person that is the best at
The
it in
best.
the world?
And what
working for
they're doing
BioLife, making crap.
is they're
Oh, yeah.
accessing like some sort of memory pool of people's real like ancient memories of like, because remember, think
they're
about like
telepathic?
the best like breakfast you've ever had in your life, or like your grandma's whatever, or like
Number
your,
3 from a greasy spoon.
your favorite thing from when you lived in this one
so then
place. Like
they telepathically absorb the memory of that
Somehow
flavor,
they're
and feeling, and
feeding-
then they have to try and translate that into code.
yeah,
Very cool. Very
that's
cool.
happening
So
somewhere.
they never get it exactly like the memory.
And
but they
these
do
are
it.
like
They're
rare,
still
high
really good at it.
quality. Like this person makes one cartridge of that, and this is the ultimate experience. This is a
Yeah.
full sensory download, and these
Yeah.
are so expensive and so black market, and they're being like fenced all over the galaxy.
You see a fleet of ships
This is a
flying
separate
across space.
show.
They must be transporting someone really important. And in the middle of the entire fleet, there's just this one cartridge suspended in like in a shield. Oh no, it's just royal pea soup. The best pea
Perfect
soup
roasted
you could get.
parsnip.
Exactly, yeah. Oh, it's making me think of the gum now from Willy Wonka.
Because some of the
You know,
vegetables would be extinct,
Or the
right?
everlasting gobstopper.
No, not the everlasting gobstopper, but the pack of gum where it's like got all 3
Oh,
meals.
it's got a meal in it.
Yeah.
And then it turns you into a blueberry, of
And it
course.
But
turns you
think
into
of how
blueberry,
much
course it does.
stuff we have on like Earth right now that wouldn't have survived the climate change. So what if there's like some sort of like ratatouille And like you haven't been able to get marrow or zucchini for like
No one remembers what it tastes like,
Yeah.
but someone manages to find like some sort of preserved memory.
yes.
That was
Somehow.
very cool.
Like a
Ugh.
mummified corpse of a person from back then
Well,
who just
maybe not that.
happened to.
Don't drink the sarcophagus soup.
Not sure if it's just me, but I feel like I'm so much more inclined to shop and eat healthier when the weather is nice outside. Like when I can just peruse the cute little farmer's market on a sunny summer Saturday, I'm so much better at grabbing the seasonal fruits and veggies and just overall gravitating towards fresh produce and away from heavier processed foods. So I've been trying to combat that this winter, and as we head into spring, something I'm bringing with me are my HelloFresh orders. With HelloFresh, you're getting seasonal ingredients picked at peak ripeness, and you can really taste the quality. Ingredients also always travel from the farm to your home in less than 7 days, so you know they're fresh, which is so helpful when I'm missing that farmer's market energy. It also doesn't hurt that making their delicious dinners is a cinch with chef-crafted seasonal recipes and ingredients already pre-portioned, so all you have to do is cook and enjoy. I made this salmon limon with a veggie couscous last week, and not only were the veggies so fresh and wonderful, but it made me try a new way of cooking salmon, which was a learning experience and also cooked faster than I usually do it, so I appreciated that. Also, you may have heard me talk about Green Chef before, which is now actually owned by HelloFresh. I really do love both, and with so many options to choose from, there really is something for everyone. If you'd like to try out HelloFresh for yourself, go to hellofresh.com/realm60 and use code REALM60 for 60% off plus free shipping. That's hellofresh.com/realm60 and use code REALM60 for 60% off plus free shipping of America's #1 meal kit.
So we have a question coming from Ragnar. Ragnar asks, how does it heat or know to heat the food or not?
I just like that. I like that.
That's a real simple but big question.
Is it personal preference?
Do you maybe get to choose hot or not?
Yeah. I mean, it's like in Star Trek, Earl Grey tea, hot. Right?
Oh.
That's like the world famous Picard line.
Very cool. Yeah,
I feel like in Star Trek, food
I like it to
replicators
be
have
hot.
cultural knowledge, though.
Yeah, I like it to be hot enough that I blow it, but not hot enough that burns my mouth. So, that's where
I think
I'll
as well,
set
like
it.
it's making these molecules hot. So like you could actually have like complexities of like we're on like a really hot, crispy top, but then like it gets a
The
little
entire lasagna can be crispy.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my lord.
Because it is producing it again, like it's producing it piece by piece. It's building this matter. So the heating is not cooked. The heating is done as it's being generated, which means the crispiness. Yeah.
Nice.
You could have like inside out chicken bits where it's crispy on the inside.
Very cool.
I like it.
Definitely how hot you want it. That's got to be that sort of that basic thing that you can just choose.
Yeah.
Well, that does raise the question, I suppose. Some of these food replicators, you just choose a meal and off it goes. But could you have sort of Build-A-Bear meals as well, where you just kind of, I want rice, and then I want this on it, and I want this on it, and I want the rice this temperature, and I want this sauce. Definitely, right?
I feel like
it might
you
not
would
be-
do that once, and then you would snapshot it.
Yeah.
I want this Tuesday curry.
Well, it's like how people share McDonald's hacks or Starbucks hacks
Yeah.
or whatever. They ask for this, this, and this, and then you'll get this thing that I've created.
Yes.
You would definitely have a community of that as well.
Oh my God, imagine the hacks. But I feel like this is basically like, these are better food replicators. Because how does that sit in the same place as the cartridges?
Well, you might have like kind of toggles of, like a bunch of like optional things. Like,
Yeah.
here's the meal, but there's like 3 different sauces it could come with. You choose which one or which combination of.
Okay,
And,
but
like,
if
you'd be
that's
like,
a
you
thing,
can like click like no onions, and then there's no onions, like all that sort of thing.
if you happen to have some sort of knowledge of a food that's not in your replicator, can anybody create memory-based recipes, or is it only like a special kind of like
I think you
craftsman?
could try, but I think that the average person would you'd be trying to do it.
You'd be like,
and
it's
it
like
would-
how you
and it
remember
would
food.
never. It'd be right on the tip of your tongue, but you'd never be able to get it.
It's like
unless
how you
were
remember
really
food
skilled.
you try to make it at home, but you can never get it just like that one that you had.
Also, I mean, it's like painting from memory.
Yeah.
It's never going to look as right as painting to source material. Like it's just going to be slightly surreal, slightly wrong.
Man.
Because it's just how it works. Your memory doesn't
I hate
actually
it.
have snapshots in it.
I hate it. Okay. So octopus bring in these real ass questions.
Yes.
Does being on different planets affect what the replicator can make? For example, if a planet likes certain elements or like oxygen, to add to the question, is it just like a matter of code or a thing that they engineered to only make food?
So some of this I think we've covered before, but
That's
an
such
interesting thought as well.
That's such a thing though, depending on the atmospheric makeup and the like rules, the physics of the planet that you are on at the time. Because the only food we know about is carbon-based life form, oxygen breathing.
But there are certain elements that don't exist on Earth, you
Yeah.
know, that you can only find in space. So you got to imagine in this galaxy, like we have all these different planets. There will be planets that have completely different combinations of elements that are available, and therefore the way food works completely different.
So would that just be, okay, you need your latest driver update for this planet?
It's like when you buy a mixer and you need to get add-ons.
Yeah, it's going to use less oxygen from this planet, but it's going to use more nitrogen because that's more prevalent in the air. And then also in the background, what's going to separate the nitrogen into these different bits type stuff. So maybe, you know, someone like Karl and Platoon could get their hands on a food replicator. And, you know, part of their chemistry work would be, we can fine-tune this to work so it tastes exactly the same on this planet and on this planet, despite being in different environments type stuff. But you would,
So localization, but for molecular chemistry.
yeah.
That is
Molecular
amazing.
chemistry.
So that way, Karl and Platoon have jobs, you know?
I mean, that's
We're
also
out there
thing,
doing work with
doing
our
jobs.
chemist brain.
chemists would have a field day. There must be like a chemistry replicator.
Oh, yeah.
It's a food replicator, but you've taken all the front of it off. It's like, no, we're not going all the way to making food. We're going to stop at that point when we're actually generating these elements.
Oh, so you've just got a bunch of beakers and vials and stuff that just get fed in and they get filled up. Like, I need to do a test. And for this test, I need this type of alkaline solution. I need this type of a different type of solution. Rather than going and measuring all that out myself, I've got a sterilized chemical replicator right here. And just go, bap, 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 and it just gets all the things done.
And you just better hope it
test.
don't explode.
Yes.
That's cool.
Well, my thought on it is ever been, you know how in the real world we make super heavy metal, nuclear, radioactive materials.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know
And
all
it's
about
by
that.
bombarding things with is it
Yeah.
protons or
I
electrons?
nodded,
You-
but I was like, yep, okay.
you take like a really dense element and you bombard
Okay.
it with extra protons, and you start creating new elements that aren't
Right.
found in nature.
All right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that we can already do these days. So
All
in
right.
my mind, it's similar to like that, where there's this little gun that bombards it with a combination of electrons and protons and changes the chemical makeup of like taking like a much more basic your oxygens, your hydrogens.
So that little gun is inside the food replicator.
I think there's a bunch of them, and they're all just going bing, 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 and they're creating these like
Okay.
they're, you know. So you've got like all these particles flowing through this tiny thin tube, and one by one they're getting turned into whatever they need to be, and then they're fed into the printer that goes bing, 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 and shoots them and sticks them all together, turning them into the food stuff.
Nice.
Damn. There
And that-
you
I mean,
go, octopus.
It's a bit of a sci-fi hand wavy magic version, but it is based on something that's kind of real.
No, I like
it's called
it.
sci-fi. It's science fiction. Science. We're
Like,
doubling
I
up on the
wouldn't be
science here.
surprised if, like, what I've just described, at least halfway towards a real world application, you know, if an
That's pretty
actual
confident.
scientist,
Wow.
an actual sort of chemist would like maybe sort of look at what I've just said and be like, oh yeah, I mean, that's all bullshit, but here's the real world version,
Yeah.
you know?
Mm.
I really like it when we take something that we've heard about in real life
Yeah.
and apply it, because even if we're applying it incorrectly because of just general ignorance, I think the bones of it harken back to something real.
Yeah.
So there's one more question from Ragnar. Are there other companies beside BioLife that make food replicators?
Ooh.
There better be.
Well, Dickie, have you got a list?
I mean, I don't have a list for you here and now, but I'm going to go out and
On the
say
spot.
that, yeah, there's loads of different off-brand food replicators you can get. BioLife have some major competitors, but I think they are like the sort of dominant force in this sort of technology.
I'm going to need there to be more people than BioLife making these things, because if we do actually end them,
Yeah.
what are we going to freaking do?
It was also, I mean, maybe it depends on the model, right? Like some of the models maybe do rely on this sort of central server kind of thing, and they'll stop working if BioLife shuts down. But there'd be other ones, like older ones, that just work on cartridge still.
Yeah. And those cafes are about to increase their profits.
Okay.
And that is all of our questions from you, from the listeners, about food replicators.
So, guys, what did we learn today? What new exciting things have we got in store for the Backwater Bastards entirely off the basis of digging a little bit deeper into food replicators?
I actually learned a lot, to be fair. Because, I interface with the food replicators a lot, but I never really I kind of waltz around how they might work just because it's sort of a big ask. It's a massively scientific world-building situation. And I just kind of go, oh, I don't know, food replicator make food.
Yeah, science magic.
That's it. Bop, bop, bop. But now I have I read about real food replicators, and I did research. Okay, can we just clap for 10 seconds?
Applause. I would put applause noises here.
Thank you. I understand now that I know more about why, how, and what, and why, and I feel like we've kind of accidentally, in our attempt to do a really focused micro dive, not to spoil anything for you people, but I feel like we've kind of created an entire plot line out of this that you'll find out about one day. So
and just entire other products and industries that if this exists, then also the fact that there must be the medical grade organ replicator, that there must be the chemistry replicator.
That's the thing that I've learned from it, is that
the ammunition generator.
Yeah, we've got some different types of replicators out there that exist that now I'm excited to kind of notice them in the wild and while playing because super cool, super fun.
This was super cool, and everybody that sent in questions,
thank
Ren, Octopus, Fiona, Ozark Bear, Ragnar, these were phenomenal questions. And we usually have to write a whole outline to do these things so that we can stay on track and answer specific questions and kind of corral everything that we've ever wondered about these things. But we didn't have to do that for this. This is the first time we haven't had to do it like that because these hit everything.
Yeah.
So thank you for being so smart.
So smart, yeah. Rolling high on our insight checks. You done so well with the insight and your charismas.
Seriously, this was amazing.
On your back. Good job.
And if you as a listener want to get in on that action, come see us on the Discord. We hang out there, we have a chat.
Yeah.
You can give us your questions about the next topic we go for.
Yeah.
Wherever you're listening to this, the link will be in the show notes.
Yeah, it will. And we do all kinds of fun things in our Discord. We have game nights. We terrorize each other. We drop memes in the chat.
Yes.
Today we've been making little avatars of ourselves because Max discovered a pit crew where you can create your lo-fi avatar, and we are all doing it. This is the life that you're missing out on if you aren't in our Discord. Just saying.
So
and
we'll
I
see
guess
you there.
while we're on the subject of the show notes, you also see a little link there to our Patreon.
Ooh.
If you are feeling in a giving mood and I guess in a sort of a financially stable area,
yes,
Unlike
consider
us.
signing up there. You can listen to some additional content that we create. We've got another podcast where we just chew the fat about interesting or uninteresting things. The sidearm. You can listen to our old podcast as well, where we played Dungeons and Dragons, and other amazing goodies and benefits.
This is true.
It's all there. Yeah,
It's all
come
there.
join us.
And if you're confused about any of this, just DM somebody.
DM your mom.
DM your mom and ask them. Moms love us.
Voted best podcast by moms.
Yeah, by moms. 9 out of 10 moms.
So, guys, I'm going to go fire up my personal food replicator because I'm kind of hangry.
I'm always hangry.
Let's creep on out of here, eh?
Bye.
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 Tune in next time for another edge of your seat adventure in space with the Backwater Bastards.
If you enjoy listening, but also have eyes, check out our Instagram, where we post drawings, illustrations, character art from our adventures. Backwater_Bastards. Check out our Instagram on Instagram.
Oh, this is like a
No,
buffet.
we shouldn't have done that.
You got all the options and you
It's
choose
just-
all of them.
Just maybe a little aperitif. A little.
I don't think
Well,
I can do it.
There's so many more things in there I wanted to eat, and No.
I'm going to get an
hecking
after dinner
way.
mint.
Is there
After
a
dinner mint.
control Z? Can we undo this?
I think that's called having a nap. I'm going to lie down.
I'm gonna need a nap.